Hello and welcome to New Earth Awakening. Today we welcome Efrat Shokef, Ph.D., who walks to knowing that everything is possible if we follow our intuition and say yes to the invitations the universe graciously offers us. She guides parents in parenting from their essence and becoming the humans their children chose to come to. Efrat is a shamanic energy healing practitioner working with children, teens, and families, and the author of the award-winning book, The Promise We Made. 3 universal soul promises we made to our children, near-death experience, and the parenting teachings it invites. Efrat, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us right now. Starting off with you sharing a little bit about your journey and how it led you to the work that you're doing today.
My professional journey, I guess there's two threads here. My professional journey, I finished high school, did what we do here in my country, and then went into an academic environment, which is also the kind of family I come from, like an academic family. Both of my parents work in the university, and they still do. They can't quit. They can, become Emiratis and just finish their journey, research stuff. So it's, and I did my PhD. Along my PhD, I did my PhD. I did a postdoc in social organizational psychology. But there was always a tickle of working with children, of exploring multicultural differences. It was always there in what I was doing. On a personal layer, my thread went through, like many of us, having a very strong intuition, being connected, knowing, not having I wouldn't say not having, not being aware of those humans in my life that could have given me the guidance of how to work with the abilities I had. So I closed that door tight as I could, until when I was already a mom to 3 little ones. My first was a little over 3 years old, and my twins, all girls, were 13 months old. I was involved in a very serious car crash. I was fatally injured, and I had a near-death experience, which left me, after you have a near-death experience or very powerful, spiritually transformative experiences, something shifts. And you can either say yes to who you are, because that's, for me, the biggest gifts of my near-death experience is the memory of who we all are. We all are love, and who I am, that I am love, and that you are, and my daughters, and everyone, and that I'm on a journey, so they're on a journey as well. So all those pieces, and you either say yes to who you are, or you die again. And I can't say that it was an easy process of integration and understanding everything, but it was so powerful that I was more fearful of hiding and dying again, because it was very clear to me that I would not be me and not be walking my journey and doing what I came here to do. Not that I have any idea. I had no idea what it was then, and I have a glimpse of it now, but I'm not even sure what's going to happen tomorrow, because it's like, okay, well, I can handle today. Don't ask me to handle more than that. And I think you understand what I'm saying. It's,
well, you know what I say, Efrat? I tend to say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm totally certain about it.
Yeah, exactly. I know. For this moment, in this moment, we're doing what we're supposed to do. In this moment, you and I are supposed to be meeting and having this conversation. And what's going to happen in an hour or 5 hours, we can plan, but we do not have an idea. And also, things happen to us in so many layers. There's what's happening in the literal, in families, the cooking, the laundry, the taking care of all those literal details of family life. And at the same time, energetically, something so big can happen. And it's the, I guess, the challenge and the beauty that it needs to be integrated and it needs to be weaved. So of that journey of weaving all those knowings I came with, those understandings, my expanded energy into a very broken body. I was in the hospital for a long time, then recovering at home, unable to take care of my daughters. It was a journey of integration, and the thread and the questions of one question that was leading me was, how do I share this profound experience of love and beauty and calmness with my daughters, not as a story of sharing a story of a near-death experience, but how do I share it as an experience of life? Together with another question that was leading me was that if I'm not doing anything, I was in the hospital, not available, and then I was home, either lying in my bedroom and resting, or lying on the sofa and resting, or being driven to physiotherapy and additional operations, and then again for a few days or weeks not home. So what defines me as my daughter's mom? What makes me their mom if I'm not doing anything? Because we defined our motherhood and parenting and so many roles and identities by the doing and not by the essence of, who we are. So those threads were leading me. And through this journey, one really moment of insight, I guess, and I share about this in my book and in all of my teachings, was about soul moments. I realized I was noticing as things were progressing that when I call them precise moments or soul moments, a moment when all my layers are aligned. I get a glimpse of something, I know something, and it doesn't matter if it's an idea coming from the outside or coming from within me. And I act upon it, even if others do not agree, even if it doesn't make sense to others, even if it's my truth only. But I'm aligned. I'm aligned in all of my layers. I can feel within my body that tingle of joy and love and calmness I felt in my NDE. So I was noticing that for brief, little, tiny, short moments, I would be able to reach out to that beautiful, expanded state of being of who I am, not by journeying and going back there, using my abilities to travel through dimensions, which really opened up for me during my ND. Not by going into meditation and closing my eyes. No, it was in my literal life. And the more I was precise, the more soul moments I had, along with a lot of unaligned moments, because when we become aware of what we want to be aligned, we see everything that we need to change. But that's really important as well, because if we don't notice what's not aligned, we will not make the needed lifestyle changes to bring alignment into our lives. But that's living heaven on earth. That's living in heaven on earth. And I realized that what I want to give my daughters, and they're now teens, amazing humans. Truly, I'm so grateful. Really, really grateful. And we have our challenges and we have our growth that needs to happen. And we encounter those choices that who we are and how are we operating in the social environment that we are surrounded with. But as we have, the more soul moments we have, the more attentive we are to who we are in essence, the more we live heaven on earth. And then we don't need a near-death experience. And we don't need spiritually transformative experience, because we're living our essence within our human form on earth, together with Mother Earth, with all her beautiful gifts and enveloping. I guess these are the threads of my journey. And along this thread, I came back being able to mediate healing, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I went and studied shamanic practices, and that led me to working with kids, and not just my own, not within just me, within my family, within my community, and today worldwide, and writing my book, and soon sharing another book with all those pieces of weaving the spirituality into parenting, because so many people separate them. Spirituality cannot be separated, and you can't walk a spiritual path or be on a self-discovery journey. It ripples to everyone. And if you have children within, it ripples also to your adult children, by the way. You can be disconnected and it ripples. The healing ripples energetically, but it definitely ripples to those you share your life with. And the invitation, it's a mutual journey. So all of those pieces together came, I guess, to where I am today, serving families, serving children, hoping and knowing and dreaming a different future. Because if we let them just, all we have to do is nurture who they are. We don't have to teach them anything. We don't need to guide them on anything new. All we have to do is stop interfering and creating and bringing confusion into their lives. They are born knowing everything they need to know, just like a seed. Knowing, they know when their time is, they know when to back away, they know what the weather is right, when they know when the soil is nurtured and ready for them to sprout and flower. But if we prune too much, if we feed too much, if we bring so many other flowers to the same garden, all those confusing elements were interfering. So today I'm within the dream, and I'm glad to know. And I think in each country there is at least one person like myself, if not more, that is actively dreaming the same dream and nourishing a new perspective, empowering parents to trust what they know, because parents, just like the kids know, the parents know when we don't interfere in the processes. So maybe a long answer. So
Amazing answer, and there is so much to unpack. And I would like to start unpacking this belief system of we need to be doing something in order to be parents, right? That you talked about, which basically is like, okay, I provide food on the table, I provide a household, a bed, puppets, and whatever they need for school. And therefore, I am a parent kind of thing. And it's like, okay, but let's talk about emotional stability. Let's talk about building a safe space for children to show up authentically without labeling certain behaviors as you are a bad child. But the behavior was maybe not so beneficial or life affirming, because, like I think about children who are maybe in a foster home or something like that. They have food, they have clothes, they have all of these things, but they may not have somebody who is emotionally supporting them, seeing their essence and nurturing that, So what is your viewpoint on all that I've tried to touch upon?
okay, I think I'll try to unweave it and offer my perspective on it.
Yes, please.
First, as parents, there is a lot of doing, objectively. Within our journey, we are humans, and human bodies need to be taken care of. They need food, they need rest, they need clothes, they need warmth, they need all those pieces. And in today's world, most parents, in most families, it's not enough that one parent would work. You need two parents to work. A lot of families are just about one parent. We have so many beautiful families today, but you need to work. You need to have money. You need to put food on your table. So the doing is real, but I think that what is important here, that we become aware that the doing does not define us. Okay. And then if we take that doing and we understand that the doing does not define us, then it creates space within us to explore what does define us. And it's very complex to define, because in the word parent, in our perceptions of what parenting is, there is an embedded hierarchy. And but as soon as a child shows up in our life, and that can be a child that is physically born out of our womb, it can be a child that is born out of our partner's womb, it can be a child that we adopted, it can be a child that came into a marriage or into a partnership with our partner. It can be a child that we fostered or adopted, or it can be a child that we meet in the classroom as teachers or with aunts and uncles. Children, it's important, I hope I won't forget my own thread of thought, but it's important to say that children choose their parents. And then they choose additional significant adults that will accompany them in their journey. But they can choose their grandparents, and they can also not choose them. They can choose the siblings that came before them or not. They can choose additional significant adults or not. So we're very careful in assuming that we were chosen as a significant adult to a little one, even if the parents assign us to be the godmother or the godfather and so forth. But we do have various adults around us and or little ones that are just, as guiding us. And I lost my thread of thought. But coming back to the doing. So we have all those doing, and we may have others do with us. Just like a parent is not defined by how much they do, so is not a grandparent. But if we look at that comparison for a moment, grandparents often have the opportunity to do as much as they feel like, depending on the culture and the structure of the family, and just be present. And that presence parents, when they become aware that the doing is not what defines them, it's automatically they switch into emotive presence. And that presence will be defined differently according to the soul agreements between that child and that parent. Why did that child choose that parent? But it's a mutual journey. So if we take away the hierarchy and the assumption that we know more, that we came here before them, specifically in this lifetime, yes, they chose us to guide them on how to live a human life in this specific region, in this specific area, in our circumstances. But beyond that, it's a mutual journey. So when we look at it as a mutual journey, the definition becomes that of the essence of relationship, the essence of communication, the exchange of love, the exchange of experiences, the exchange of invitations to heal and grow together, explore, become, and an invitation so many Inner Earth children offer us today, expand our consciousness together. So it's a switch. It's like, and it amazes me to see how when that idea that we are on a shared journey with our children clicks, you hear it and you hear it. Suddenly it clicks for you. And when it clicks for parents, something shifts in how they show up. They are willing to heal everything they can. They are willing to show up. Suddenly their career may become less important. They will still have a career because they still want to put food on the table, and they still also want to, maybe they enjoy what they're doing and they want to enjoy it, but their perspective on that within the relationship changes. So many pieces just change. And again, they will change according to that family's agreement. It will not be the same for you or me or others. So a partial answer to many questions. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's start talking about fragmentalization, what can happen when behaviors need to be disowned or buried somewhere because this is not well seen and we need to feel safe in an environment and this is not welcome in that environment. How do you see that in conscious parenting?
So first, I bring the spiritual into conscious parenting. Conscious parenting can talk about spirituality, but often it's not. So we are just for clarity, we are talking about that spiritual piece. I think what each of us wants is for, and as adults, that's the processes we find ourselves going through. We finding who we are and trying to walk life as much of our essence. Our children want the same. They want to be who they are. Now, a child that is accepted as who they are feels safe based on that acceptance. Safety is such a subjective concept. And when we look at everything that is going on in the world, so much violence within school systems, violence by teachers raising their voice, violence because of the bully in the class, who is probably being bullied somewhere else and knows, and he's not in his body because his soul knows he's doing wrong and is trying to escape the situation he or she is creating for themselves. If we take a compassionate look at the situation, there's so much violence everywhere. There's so much violence in video games that children are addicted to. There's so much violence in the roads. There's so much violence in the news. We could go on. The world is not safe. So what we can cultivate is subjective safety within our homes. Subjective safety is not created by behaving as our aunt expects, or being polite, or by saying the thank you, or expressing gratitude, or dressing by certain dress codes to certain events. And we can go on in various elements of what a society constructs as do's and don'ts. These are important because we do want to fit in. We do want to be part of a community. We do want to belong. But as soon, and especially when we're talking about spiritually aware children, sensitive children, being born to highly sensitive parents, New Earth children, we're talking about kids that come with a very evolved consciousness. And what they're looking for, their definition of belonging is belonging by essence, is belonging by frequency, which means I belong where my frequency aligns, not when I adjust myself by lowering my frequency in order to fit in. Now, there are many ways to to communicate that to such children, because you explain that this is how the family event's going, and maybe this part of the family is different than we are, and we respect them and we love them, and we do that by choice, but we don't do that because we have to. We choose to respect others around us. We don't do that because we have to, and that opens a spectrum of possibilities of also for children to learn that, yeah, we're with expanded consciousness, but we are living in a human world, and we most of us want to fit in, not even if we're shining, we want to shine who we are, but within our environment, being accepted, being able to communicate with others, those are really, really important capabilities. Now, all those, and if I go back to the example you gave, a family where the mother says, this is not proper behavior, this is not how to behave, da, 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 da. That family, if open for change and transformation, I would invite to take a step back and for the mom to start working with herself and unweave. She might decide that specific behaviors, she likes them. She wants her children to do this or that, and that's it. But that's already it will be because she is choosing that behavior to be a criteria for being accepted in society and in her environment, and not because it's embodied within her as a limiting belief inherited down without her questioning it. And that's a very different energy to approach something. So it might not change everything she thinks or how she operates. We have so many things on automatic. And when we're stressed as parents, our automatic reactions, we find that we act like our parents. But then we can consciously observe it and ask, is this mine? Is it not mine? If it's not mine, do I want to unweave it, or do I want to unweave it and keep that because I like it, because it makes me eating this traditional family meal in a holiday makes me happy. I usually find it that I'm not relating to all those traditions, but it can be a choice, but we want to be in that position of not having it as something that we're just doing, but that we're consciously choosing as part of our shared journey. And what these sensitive little ones invite us to often is to unweave and break those cycles. And they invite parents to stay home and not go to a family gathering where there is music and noise and a lot of people. They refuse to hug or even smile to family members with energy that is low vibration and is not aligned to who they are. They insist of playing quietly, or they pull us out into nature because nature absorbs this noise and heals everyone. And they invite us to imitate them. So sometimes we need to just stop and look at situations and ask, what is, take that bird's eye view. What is the invitation? What's going on beyond my kid not behaving properly? And kids know how to behave, and sometimes boundaries need to be placed, and it's okay, but they should be placed because they fit the situation and they fit the family, and it's from a loving reaction of guiding how to be things happen around us, and not because it's a limiting belief guiding us, or contracts, or all kinds of pieces that we carry as souls. That opens the door for a kid to walk their essence, their parents to walk their essence, and that sense of safety is anchored in being accepted as I am. And if I'm accepted as I am, and I would add, this is one piece of it. Another piece of it is being anchored to Earth, to Mother Earth, to nature, understanding we are nature. And that weaving together of being anchored to Earth and anchored to being human and being accepted as we are, loved as we are, worthy merely by being, then we feel safe. We feel safe because we know we are walking what we came here to do, experiencing, gifting, serving, receiving. And together, that takes us into that piece of knowing oneness. And then we're safe because we're one with, not because objective circumstances are safe, because they're not.
I
Wow,
love it.
just like I need to write that down. I'm like,
You'll have a chance. We'll have a transcript.
cool.
So let's unpack that again a little bit. Let's talk about old parenting philosophies and the mental health of parents, how that affects children, because there has been also a lot of research going on around fMRIs. How is the neural logical response of children who, for example, have been led to cry it out, as it was said before, and all these kind of things that now we know that emotional and behavioral developmental difficulties can arise from this kind of behaviors during parenting. So what's your take on that? And how can we as parents lead the new earth?
I will stick with the last piece of your question because I'm not familiar with that specific research. I'll be careful not, to relate to something that I haven't read myself. Let's start with mental health. So many pieces of mental health are really healthy because it's what we define today as mental health. Part of it is, biological, chemical imbalances that sometimes can be helped and sometimes less. A lot of it is about spiritual awareness that has not been directed, guided, or given structure. And we know also that for many people who are diagnosed with various mental health issues, starting to do meditations, shamanic journeying that weaves the connection in the neurons, the structures of our brain, expands our awareness, suddenly things come into place. So, I would call them mental situations, imbalances. They're definitely always a cause of some imbalance. And I'm happy that worldwide we are growing into an understanding that there are many ways to treat those situations. And then we can also take what you're asking about into our homes and into so many families and understand that parents, like all of us, like children, or maybe I should say it in a different words, we are all suffering from the illness of stress. And that stress is embodied in our system. So a stressed parent with an imbalanced system because of stress, and we always have all kinds of other stuff, but just an imbalance caused by stress, that means their physical is not operating properly. Their emotional responses will include bursts out because they're exhausted, and parenting is exhausting. And I want to say this with compassion. They will try to navigate all the thoughts running and controlling and all their fears. And by that, when in utero, the child is already absorbing the stress hormones. They are being born into a stressful situation. Some moms and parents, not just moms, also fathers today, make the choice of staying home. Unfortunately, that's not possible for all families. But any simplifying, any slowing down, that has a tremendous effect on our kids' nervous system. We know that from attachment theories, we know how important the physical touch is during all the first years, and I would say including adulthood. We need physical touch as humans. We need that in terms of to nurture, to balance ourselves, to ground each other by that connection. So, and that's important because people stop hugging their kids at some age because socially kids learn, oh, I'm not hugging my mom. Kids need hugs. Adults need hugs. We need that positive physical connection with ones that align in our vibration. So what can families who experience such stress do? And I would, it takes us into mental situations and mental diagnosis. I think that sometimes we need to stop with the diagnosis and go into asking what lifestyle changes can we make in our family, in our situation. And each family has their situation. What lifestyle changes can be made? And it's hard to make those lifestyle changes because all those lifestyle choices are a way for us to belong. We dress like others. We go out like others. We do this behavior and this behavior. We see that movie. We watch that or this. And if you want, watch all the TikTok movies. I don't have TikTok, so I'm not sure how that operates, but I know it's like people watch it all day. So it's if I want to watch everything, what will I talk about at work? So it's like, but it's a loop we put ourselves into. We do have choices. And yes, it's hard to stop all those addictive behaviors, but we are able to when we make a very clear choice and we use the various modalities and tools and coaches. There's so much available in the world for us to take those steps. So you might need to change one type of lifestyle. I might need to change something else. and another person's listening to us, starting point may be completely different. It doesn't matter where you start. It matters that you make that choice. And that choice is really important because that choice communicates to our child energetically. Okay, I got it. I know I need to make a change, so I'm trying. And that piece of trying, truly, genuinely trying, not trying, but really trying to make changes, communicates to our children, maybe I'm confused. Maybe I got it wrong. But please stay aligned to who you are a bit longer. Wait for me. I'm becoming my potential. I'm becoming who you trusted me to become. And for some families, it's a process of a month. I see miracles, truly. For other families, it's a lifetime journey. And this is okay, and this is okay, because each one of us and our baggage and our gifts and what we came here to do. But it's such an important energetic communication to our kids that ripples also to others, because when one makes a change, others start feeling uncomfortable for not making those changes themselves. And the people who need to be uncomfortable are those who are not making the change, not the people who are choosing to make changes. It's like to flip the coin, because right now it's those who make the changes feel like, oh, I should be quiet about it. I wouldn't speak the energetic language about others. I'm not going to tell them that I've become vegan or so. But it should be the other way around. Be proud of the changes you make. Be proud of the choices you make. Know that your child chose you and you know best. So take that power back and bring it back to you. So it can be about mental illness, and it can be about the effects of stress and all that is in between. We always have the power to heal ourselves. Sometimes those pieces of illnesses and diagnoses and physical challenges are a gift as well, because they slow us down, because they open a door for healing. They open us up to grow into becoming more compassionate humans to others. And healing is not about being physically fit, and it's not about being mentally completely stable, as long as you are from choice and you're using your abilities. You and I, neither of us are mentally stable in terms in how in how others in conventional society would see us. We journey, we communicate. That could be considered really crazy, but that's our healthy state, because that's you walking in your power and that's me walking in my power. Okay, so, and that young lady is walking in your power, is being who you are. And it's not about how society, including our health system, our modern Western health system, defines health. So, again, all those constructs we need to redefine for ourselves. And we know it to be true because it resonates. If it wouldn't resonate, if it doesn't resonate for anyone, so it means it's not true. But when it resonates, when it clicks, okay, I need to work with that piece for myself as well.
Exactly. I love how you just said it. In conventional terms speaking, maybe not so much. Yeah, but it's like, for example, I tend to say like, we are spiritual in essence. Like everything is consciousness. That's the first hermetic law. So everything is consciousness. We are consciousness. We're just having this human experience. That's all. We chose to come here because we wanted to taste an apple and we wanted to know how it feels like to go to a loo and things like that are so basic, but can make the whole difference, like in an experience way speaking, I just love to say that everything is, like, for example, science and all of that, that's also God experiencing itself, getting to know itself on a deeper level, as above, so below. That's what we are doing individually as well. I love a lot that you have said, and also about physical touch. There are actually studies that say that physical touch reduces stress.
Yes. I think that as human beings, we are extraordinary in our ability to adjust, but we use it, and especially when you look at children look around them and they see what's going on. And if they see a lot of behaviors not aligned so much, but they say, oh, okay, so this is how humans are. So I will adopt that behavior. And they adjust and they take it into their toolbox and into who they are, even although it's not theirs at essence. And yes, just as we adjust, and that's sad. That's pretty much sad, because you look at kids and their sensitivities, and then you look at highly sensitive adults. And so many highly sensitive adults are we can manage all kinds of situations that kids can. And we ask, why can we? Are they more sensitive? Some of them are indeed more sensitive. It's a whole different level of the number of receptors they have for information. There is a difference in that, but it's also about just us desensitizing ourselves as we grew, because we had to deal with all kinds of situations. So, and what I can see from a different perspective is that I work with families, and that from a very young age, offer meditation, offer respect their children, offer compassion, truly model, not just saying, oh, we need to be kind, but not being kind and expecting our kids to be kind. No, but truly being kind and modeling those positive behaviors, modeling journeying, modeling seeing mom say, okay, I need a moment to gather myself. I'll be right back, and sitting down to meditate and breathe, or use breathing techniques while she's driving. All those pieces can be modeled as well. But, some families need to model one piece. Some families need to model all of it. The most spiritual way to walk is to walk who we are. So some of us need those tools because we came here with an intention of staying continuously communicating and connected. Some of us need other tools, which are about the earth and being embodied and bringing our gifts of technology, for example, into the world in a good and positive and ethical way. So it will differ, and that, I think in many ways, it also invites us not to be judgmental about all kinds of behaviors, because we don't know what the soul journey of that child and that family is about. What is right and wrong? It's like, let's put that right and wrong away and go into more accepting, open, exploring, observing our perspective on what is going on around us. Because some people need what we need. Some people need other pieces of experiences. And it doesn't mean we're more enlightened or that our conscious is more expanded than theirs is. Not at all. What matters is whether you walk your journey or you don't walk your journey. And we don't know that about others. So
thank you. And I love how you speak about it, because children tend to read energies very well. Like
yes.
there is the vibrational frequency of anger, for example, and somebody saying, oh, I'm totally fine. This is totally okay with me, and the child will be like, meh, I don't believe that so much, and that goes into parenting as well. What you said about being open and being truthful. Mommy needs 5 minutes or something to ground herself a little bit. I'm gonna do some breath work. I'm gonna be back in 5. See you later. I find that very inspiring. So what's your take on being open and truthful, the importance of it, and also parenting with energies? For example, if you are in a judgmental state as a parent towards a child, the child would know that. Even if you're trying to say, like, it's totally okay that you behave, whatever, you know what I mean? So how do you navigate these types of energies?
When a parent shows up and starts being on a journey of healing, really unweaving their pieces, their vibration will align and will rise and align with that of their kids. Kids read us even when we don't know what we're feeling ourselves. Some kids are able to verbalize it. Other kids are not able to verbalize it. Some kids will shut down as a reaction of what we communicate. And those gaps are terribly confusing for them, because they know one thing and they witness something else. And most kids don't have an adult around them that will explain that there is a gap and give that gap words and say, yes, what you're sensing is the truth and not what you're being told.
Coherence.
Yeah, so this is basically how we can, part of the process is of how we confuse them. They know, they come reading energies, they feel energies, and we tell them, put that energy down. It's not your truth, when it is the essence of their truth. And as parents, again, I think it goes back to the same, at least in my perspective, do your work. Take responsibility. Own your stuff. Don't blame your mom. Don't tell, but my mom did that to me. It doesn't matter. She did what she did. Now you can take responsibility and heal within you, so that your child will be free of those pieces. And you will be more of an aligned vibration. And then you will all align as a family. Or you can continue blaming and not doing your work. And I know that doing the work is hard. I've been doing it for years now. Taking responsibility can be tiring. But That's part of our promise to them. We promised we would take responsibility and heal. And I will say it this way, I have a lot of respect for parents who show up. And I'm lucky to be working with many such families worldwide. So I know a change is happening and a ripple is happening. And I pray that all those who are refusing change will find their way, even if not through my modalities, through other modalities, because we have so many modalities available. But there is a way for each one of us to become who we are and choose humanity. Being human, being united as humans. So
I love your answers.
I'm a dreamer, as I said.
Yeah, this song, you can tell me I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
No,
Here
luckily.
we go. All the dreamers here united. Let's talk a little bit about social systems. And there is sometimes a sort of one size fits all kind of mentality, you know? So I treat all my children equally. Well, maybe the child X needs something different than Y. So, what is your take on that?
So I think I'm learning about various educational systems that are trying to make this change. So that makes me very, very happy and optimistic. I do think that in our modern Western world, educational systems need to ask a lot of questions about what they're giving children and what fits and what is right and how things should be constructed. The school system is not fitting for many, many children today, from kindergarten to high school, including academic studies that we can question about how we want to build and adjust. At the same time, if we look worldwide, we see that souls and kids are choosing intentionally to come into societies that operate on collective identification of being one like the other, of doing everything as they are constructed and guided to. So there's a big piece of soul choice within that. So I'm careful in what I'm saying in general. I'm homeschooling my girls because I found that when you homeschool, you can be intentional with creating the conditions each of your children need. Not every family can homeschool. It's not allowed in many countries, but it is part of what allows this differentiation, this attentiveness, this attention to children in concrete, in creating the conditions they specifically ask for and need. I pray for change, but I'm also aware that some kids need those systems and they need them as they are. I wish for a greater variety so each parent could choose. And maybe we should add here that parents need to know they have a choice. There is always alternatives. Look for them and you will find them under the ground, but there are alternatives for educational systems everywhere.
Thank you very much. So, thanks for that perspective. And having choice is really what all of this is basically about, you know, stepping back from reactiveness and I have to towards I have many choices. Let's look at what do I prefer actually from my heart. So thanks again. The last question. Wait, before I do that, I wanted to ask you, which messages did you receive during the NDE? Are there like some wisdom nuggets that you could share with the audience?
It's not so much as wisdom nuggets, but I guess that's my experience. And I think a lot of NDEers share this experience of realizing who we are, that recollection that we are more than our physical and that we are on a journey and that we are whole and beautiful as we are. And I think that when we encounter that, when we open up even to that nudge within us, even if we didn't have a spiritual transformative experience, it changes our perspective. It changes our perspective about life, about love, about life and death, about our relationships. All you're left with is that, I'll say almost the only things that are important are the I love yous and the I'm sorries and accepting apologies. I'm saying almost because we are, many of us, on a journey of gifting and serving. And we are here for that piece. But beyond that piece, which we all hope to fulfill, and we fulfill as we go along without knowing what we're doing, as we spoke earlier, it's about keeping our communication clear. You don't know when you're going to leave. It can be in 5 minutes. So make sure everybody you love knows you love them. Make sure that you've opened your heart to the I love yous of others. And if you need to apologize, then apologize now, not tomorrow.
Thank you.
So it's not a message received in my NDE, but that's the teaching I've been walking with. Just keep it all clean all the time.
Clean slate, transparency.
Yes, transparency and a lot of expressions of love.
Thank you, Efrat. And the last question is, we have been hinting towards this, your highest vision for the new earth.
That's my dreaming. Each child being able to grow aligned to their essence, simpler life, slower life, with a joy of creation, creativity and creation, co-creating for the highest good of all, merely by dancing life, everywhere, regardless of geographical location, political situation, really allowing children to experience Mother Earth, the soil, the plants, the stones, the water, immerse in this beautiful Earth experience, because those new Earth children come from such high frequencies and vibrations, and part of the journey, part of their adventure here is about this grounded experience, being nature ourselves.
Thank you very much, Efrat. We will be posting your links below so people can find you easily. Do you have any parting messages for the audience?
So those of you who are parents, just claim your power back, trust, and show up for the invitations your kids offer you. Remember, it's a shared journey. And for those of you who are not parents yet, by choice or by how life is, or because your kids have already really grown, know that any change, any responsibility that we take ripples around us, including to the children, the future, those we walk around, those we see on the street, without even knowing we're a reflection of light to them, confirming they should stay aligned to who they are and have fun on Earth. I guess that's part of why we're here, having fun, enjoying nature, enjoying Mother Earth, blessing her and respecting her as we walk together.
Thank you, Efrat, for the work that you're doing. Is greatly appreciated and greatly needed.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement and for having me.